Now we go to a game that was a sports promotion with the next launch lineup, and that is game number 3, ESPN Extreme Games. Also known as a mediocre ripoff of Electronic Arts' Road Rash. Published by Sony Computer Entertainment America and developed by Sony Interactive Studios. You are competing in an extreme sports tournament called the X Games. You choose a selection of different kinds of boards, like skateboards, roller skates, mountain bikes, and the long-forgotten street luges. Then you go on to the main 5 courses multiple times and determine to become an extreme champion. Its development is also unknown, like the previous one. But rather than focusing on the development, instead, let's talk about the partnership with Sony and ESPN. If you don't know, Sony was once a third-party publisher during the 3rd and 4th generation, formerly known as Sony ImageSoft. Most of them are usually games based on movies, but they have also made some few sports games, thanks to a partnership with ESPN, making a few titles throughout the 4th gen. That is, until Sony was going to enter the home console business, but with that, ESPN wanted a game for Sony's new console. Rather than just another sports title, they wanted to make an extreme sports game. Due to that, they had a new series called the X Games, which was new at the time. So they let Sony to create a game based on ESPN's The X Games. When it was released in North America in September 9th, 1995, Europe in December 1st, 1995, and Japan in May 24th, 1996, it was a critical hit. It received general good reviews by critics. Air Hendricks of GamePro said ESPN Extreme Games doesn't push the limits of 32-bit graphics and gameplay, but it does take you on a thrilling ride. And roughly a year after the game's release, Electronic Gaming Monthly reported that ESPN Extreme Games was the biggest selling Sony-published PlayStation game worldwide. But there were some few criticism along with saying that the texture mapping and graphical details were praised but criticized a small number of tracks, and the game does not measure up to Ridge Racer, which I already made a review of it, and Wipeout, which will come across eventually. The main features are of course many different sports, including skateboarding, rollerblading, street luge, and mountain bike. The progress to start to finish is a linear path to another point of the city. Another feature is that players could punch and kick other opponents by simply knocking them off their boards. There is also combo points to do tricks. Good luck trying, because I can't do one. And finally, they also put in gates across all tracks to gain extra points so you could buy more boards, but with much bigger stats. And you have to pay them by winning a race. During a loading to the track, it shows an FMV video of a tough girl and tells you which location you chose.
San Francisco. You'll finish at the Golden Gate Bridge, but the key here is the tunnel. Once you hit it, go all out because you're almost home. Rome. Oh man, you're gonna need stamina for this one. And forget the scenery. Too many curves to test your handling. Utah. Lots of beautiful scenery and mountains, but look for shortcuts and you'll end up in an old ghost town.
However, she does get mad and downright make fun of you if you end up 4th to last place.
Let me tell you something, that tortoise and the hare thing doesn't work around here. If you were going any slower, you'd be going backwards. You are so slow, you'd lose a race with continental drift. Have you ever raced one of those before? This one was over before you even crossed the starting line. Last, absolutely, positively, the last person to finish the race. Do you have anything to say for yourself? Don't think so, scrub.
But if you end up in the top 3, she at least congratulates you and on top of the game.
Every gate, every jump, every turn, you nailed that run. You may have redefined extreme. Slam in performance. Hey, if you're not too busy, some of the other racers want to know if they can have your autograph. Come on, humor us. At least let some of the other guys stay close to you. Epic performance.
One other note about the game that it was the first North American game that used a memory card, meaning that you could save up your progress. Now back then, before this, games used either passwords or they just used a battery chip so you could save the game. But now you could save your progress through a memory card rather than just typing a password. Okay, being a little bit off topic here, Ridge Racer did have a save feature, but it's really used to save your time records instead of actually saving the entire game. Yeah, just want to say that. Now, back to topic. Each memory card had 15 blocks, but be careful. Use all 15, then you must get another one. The game also got a re-release as a greatest hits, but they changed the name to One Extreme. Two reasons why are: 1, the ESPN agreement had expired and removed all mention to both ESPN and the promotion. And 2, the sequel to Extreme had already came out and it was the sequel to this game. Overall, a nice fine change. Now, on to the review part. The graphics don't look that bad. Sure, the character models are pixelated, but for the environments, they look good. Presentation, the only thing I have to tell is the FMV videos, which, man, this girl doesn't care about you at all, and simply ruin your day if you don't go on the top 3. The music is good. It has this mid-90s extreme charm to it. I kinda like it. And last, the gameplay. Even though it's a Road Rash clone, but it has its own unique personality, because it had an extreme charm to it and the feel of the extreme aspect. But it's still not as perfect to the 32-bit Road Rash. The only criticism I only had is the difficult AI, which even with one mess up, they would instantly overpass you. Even setting on easy mode, they would still, once again, overpass you. But if you still want to gain in the top 3, set it to extreme. Why? Well, instead of making the AI much faster and tougher, instead they put in some obstacles and hazards during the middle of the tracks. And guess what? Most AI can't even go by the hazards, meaning you can overpass them and will get to a much higher position. But just avoid the many obstacles and hazards along the way. So in conclusion, the game is good. Sure, it's not as great to the Road Rash games, but it still is an outstanding one. Even though there is a much more harder difficult AI, but you could just simply turn up the difficulty and simply beat them. Even tough, you still simply end up somewhere between 6th or 4th. And the FMV videos are alright, but if you don't want your feelings to get crushed by the tough girl, you can always set off the FMV in the setting options, and that's about it. All I can say that the game is a blast from the past, and the rad times of the mid-90s charm. I give my official rating a 4 out of 6. Next time on the PlayStation years, I'll be tackling one of the first FPS, but also part of a mech trilogy by Janky, and received mixed to average reviews. What is that game? Well, I'll tell you in the next review. Thanks for watching.